welcome back to another episode of the Higher Level Podcast. So it's just myself and James Doolan tonight. We've got some stuff to talk about at the weekend, a bit of regional MMA, UFC, and we'll also discuss a bit of boxing, something we don't talk about too much in the show. So we'll jump into obviously last night's UFC card. We're not going to go over the full card, obviously, just a couple of fights and a couple of things on it. So the fight kicking off the main card was Julian Rosa and Peterson. They were coming out, obviously Rosa coming off he was on the Ultimate Fighter and he's on a good win streak at the moment. It was a good fight. That second round, technically maybe not the best fight to watch, but it was a good fight. If you like a bit of blood and stuff like that. What did you make of the fight?
A good fight, man. It's one of the ones that's fun to watch. It was pretty wild at Pitts, but there's definitely something in it to be admired about the kind of heart and toughness of the two guys who were beating the crap out of each other. Could see none of them was going to break kind of mentally, or they'd done their best to break each other physically. But it was a good fight. I think it was placed perfect right on the opening the main card and stuff. I think Arosa's quickly moving into that kind of territory. Like he's like a guy who's never going to be in a boring fight, almost like a Justin Gaethje type of thing. He's always a guy, if you see him on the card, you're going to watch him fight. He's getting like that now. He was never like that before as well. It's seems to be the way he's went now. But it was an excellent fight. I didn't know too much about Peterson before it, but I was quite impressed, man. He looked good. Wild, technically wild. It looked like two guys who have obviously trained to a high level and stuff, but it looked like two guys just fucking having it out in a car park at points. It was a fun fight, but man, it was a really, really fun fight. It would have been a good one to watch live. It's a shame it's in that Apex with tiny wee crowds and stuff. Yeah. Imagine that in a big arena. Would have been cool.
And it was a close fight as well. Obviously, Rosa clearly won the first round. Peterson comes back in the second. He hurts Rosa, really hits him badly. Obviously, then Rosa in the second round hits him with that. It's a spinning back fist and sort of the tables turn. And so it was really close then going into the third round. It kind of looked like Peterson was starting to take over in the fight, but Rosa again, I think. Do you think the takedowns won him the fight, really, didn't they? I
think so, man. I think he was quite smart when he hit the takedowns as well. But it got to a stage where it looked like they could both hit each other all night, and none of them was going to go. I don't think they could have hit each other much more or any better shots, but it just shows you kind of how smart Rosa was, just that little change up. And I think definitely right at the end of the third round as well, I had a round each, and I had Peterson edging it, and I think Rosa rallied a wee bit and then probably just stole it with the takedown, but it's one of the ones it could have been scored either way. It was a split decision and stuff, but good fight, man. It's a shame one of the guys gets paid half their money. I think Rosa probably, you obviously get paid the two checks and stuff, but Pearson's probably going to get about $10,000 for that fight, which is fuck all considering.
I'm sure they did a bonus for that fight though.
They did. I think they got fight of the night.
So nothing that they get that. Still, we fights that they're that close. It is a shame that's one of the downsides of MMA. The way you're paid is you lose half your purse. And I don't know if you noticed this, but Rosa done something in the third round where he goaded Peterson on, and then as Peterson stepped forward, that's when he took him down.
Aye, his Jedi mind tricked him a peach. The two of them were at it with each other for the majority of the fight, like talking about each other and stuff.
No, it was a really good fight, and we'll obviously jump on to go to the main event. But before we get to that, I want to discuss a certain fighter, Sam Alvey. So after that fight, that's Sam Alvey now on, I think it's in his last 8 fights, 1 draw, 7 losses. And you've seen guys like BJ Penn and stuff like that, they go on a really long losing streak and don't get cut. But then Sam Alvey's, he's not a BJ Penn, or I don't mean to be derogatory to the guy, but he's not up at that level. So you wonder what keeping him in the UFC when there's really good guys get cut after a few fights. It's a strange one, is it not?
It's very strange. It used to be if you lost 2 in a row. At one point you'd have been cut definitely 3. and it's not like his fights are exciting either. They're the kind of fights you go and make a cup of tea when Sam Alvey's fighting. I don't know if it's maybe if he was competing at featherweight or bantam or light, it'd be a different thing. But the division he's fighting it's just a wee bit more shallow, obviously. But he must. It's almost like he must go on really well with somebody in the UFC who's responsible for keeping him there. But you'd imagine that's maybe the last time you see him now, I think.
You would think so. I mean, like you say, it's not like he's like we're talking about the Rosa fight. Real guys that are exciting. You watch them fight. Sam Alvey's not that. And to watch him, he seems, obviously you've got a better perspective than I have, but watching him as a fighter, he looks really stiff, sluggish. Everything seems to be almost lethargic. Give me your thoughts on that as coming from a coach and somebody that's competed in sport.
He's definitely not athletic. Like straight away, you can tell he's not like a guy who could have excelled at any sport. He's won fights and stuff like that, but now it just seems like when you watch him, you just get the impression he's just trying to not cheat his way through, but basically just do enough to get a win. And a lot of time it's never enough. He's always quite a negative style, frustrating to watch. I think it would be quite hard to fight against, but I don't know. He's just it's a very, very strange style he's got. It's almost similar to the style that KJ Johnson kind of adapted after he'd get knocked out quite heavy. I don't know if Sam Alvey's maybe been hurt before in fights, or he's worried about CTE and stuff, and just became this like kind of more negative. It's like score enough points and stay away from you to get a decision, but it's just not fun to watch. You know? I mean, he's a nice. I've actually met him. He's been a couple. Yeah, it's been on a couple shows we've been on, and like him and his wife. He's kind of famous for his wife coaching him. She holds pads for him and stuff. But it's just like it's almost getting to a stage now where him being in the UFC is depriving somebody of that spot. Like there's bound to be guys more deserving of a place in the UFC and the chance to make money and stuff than that guy. I mean, it's not like a personal attack on the dude, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no.
He's obviously got a living in making stuff, but he really needs to split. He can't be losing 7 fights in the UFC and still expect to be there.
No, and it's not like he's got. It does not look like he's getting better and there's more chance of him. He's not going to get easy fights. And granted, he's not the biggest name in the sport, but he has got a name and he has some big wins. So he's probably a guy that younger guys coming through, they can get in. It's a decent one to have in their record, or it maybe was a decent win, maybe not so much now. Well,
I think he has got some big names on his record as well. Once back in the day, it's a strange fall off, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like you say. I think this might be the last time we see him in the UFC. But moving on to the obviously main event, Sean Strickland, Jack Hermanson. A fight that I think definitely get title implications. Obviously, you've got Jared Kinnear and Derek Brunson fighting Israel, and then obviously you've got Adesanya fighting Whittaker again. And probably if Adesanya goes through that fight, you would imagine then, because he's been through the top guys that are sitting there now. So this fight, I would say, had title implications. Do you agree with that?
I think for Strickland it did. I think I don't think Hermanson would, if he'd win it, I don't think he would be in the title picture. I think the UFC seem to be pushing Strickland a wee bit. So I think he'll be maybe one fight off it at most. Yeah,
and he's got with Strickland as well. We've all seen the videos where obviously the recent one where he knocks out not a training partner, but just goes to the gym and knocks out a kickboxer. Then you've got the one at Ruka Sport where I don't follow BJJ as much, but I know the gentleman he was
Orlando Sanchez.
Yeah, Orlando Sanchez. And he's got a bit of character about him. He's got a good backstory as well. Fought at welterweight. He's kind of so there. He had some good wins. Obviously, Tom Bree's been one of them. Then had the motorbike accident. Has come back at middleweight. And I mean, the guy's done really well. Maybe wasn't the best fight you'll see for him, but he done what he needed to do. And Jack Hermanson, just didn't look ever like he was going to get that fight to the ground, and looked like he was struggling on the feet.
I think it's above Hermansson's level, to be fair. Strickland's got very, very good takedown defence. Not only takedown defence, but he's also a very, very good grappler. He showed that in like the Breeze fight and stuff like that. Strickland's a funny one, man. He's like a guy that almost flew below the radar for a while, and then suddenly he's had that altercation with Sanchez, and he's quite an outspoken guy now about I want to kill somebody, and the rest of the shit comes out of it. So his kind of name's getting thrown about. I don't know if he's doing this on purpose, like Kobe Covington fucking thing. But the thing is, he's fucking a really, really good fighter. And the other impressive thing is he's improving. He looks, every time you see him, he looks like he's getting better. He wasn't brilliant last night, but if he turned up like having an off night last night, Hermansson would have jumped all over him. Hermansson is capable of maybe catching him with something, and he was still professional enough that it looked mega comfortable against a dangerous guy. I think Hermansson was ranked 6 and he was 7, so he should be pushing in for the top 5 now. I think I get the impression a lot of the stuff you read and see about him is to portray an image or something. I think you know he works with that like Eric Nixick, the Extreme Couture, so I don't imagine Eric would take a lot of shite off him. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't seem the type of coach that would play into that too much. And I think that gym he wouldn't fit in at that gym if he was like that in real life. But he's exceptionally good, Strickland, and he has been for a while. But like I said, he's definitely improving. He's quite a polarising character, I think, to a degree.
Well, I mean, Eric's come out and said about it. Obviously, that video circulated with the knocked out a training partner, and read as what he said about it. But Eric Nixick's come out and said he's a really good guy having a gym. He's always trying to help his teammates excel. He's trying to help them make better, so try to help them develop. So I think a lot of the stuff we see here is just him trying to build himself in the UFC, because unfortunately for a lot of guys, being the quiet guy that just wins fights doesn't really work anymore. You need to have a character. You need to be able to be good in interviews. That's just the nature of the entertainment part of the sport now.
I think if you're not like that much a standout character in terms of your athleticism and kind of fighting ability, then these guys need to do that. Do you know? They need to kind of talk a wee bit and maybe be a wee bit controversial and stuff like that, just to kind of top up the level of or the level of attention they're getting just for their ability. But it's not everybody can be like a Khabib, like just like super quiet and stuff like that, and turn up and just wreck everybody. It's most of these guys to get attention and get opportunities, they're going to have to talk a wee bit.
Yeah, but even Khabib had that, although his skill set, you look at, he had that all the way through his career, but it took the stuff with Conor and the semi-location, that's what blew Khabib up. So a lot of times it's something you see in an interview or something like that. It's just the way the sport is.
It's an entertainment business, isn't it?
Absolutely. And obviously then, so Sean Strickland, I think he's put himself in a great position now. Depending how the Jared Cannonier and Derek Brunson fight goes, I think, and obviously what happens with Whittaker and Adesanya, because you don't know, whoever wins, did they come out uninjured? So it's sort of put a wee bit of fresh life into the middleweight division that it really does need some fresh life in it.
It's quite a stale division. It has been for a while. It's I think with Adesanya being such a dominant champion doesn't help, but there's some good fights coming up. I think this Whittaker fight with him and Adesanya should be completely different for the first one, I think.
Aye. And so we'll move on away from the UFC and we'll look more at home. So it was UFL 8. Now, I wasn't at the show, so I didn't see anything firsthand, but I've heard some things. I'm assuming you have as well. So we'll cover a few things. I think the first thing we'll speak about is, heard there was some timekeeping issues at the show, where rounds were not finishing properly, which can affect somebody's record as a professional, right?
As far as I'm aware, if it's not meeting the standards required for a professional fight. It was Brad Warren that posted that, actually. That we're obviously talking about Chris Duncan. So the boys that run that are Scottish. Yeah, they're actually local to the gym. I didn't know they had the 8 of those shows. To be fair, I know they had that show in Scotland for a while, and people had dealt with the two brothers for the bigger teams knew to stay away for the show. Pretty much, it was never going to be professionally run. So most like these shows were happening. It one in Edinburgh, Musselburgh, wherever, and for some reason they've shifted it down south. But it was always going to go like that with these guys running it, to be fair. The only reason I knew that show was on was because Chris Duncan was fighting on it, obviously. So I never watched the fight. I was watching the boxing. I was watching the Eubank fight. But then I was in a group chat with some guys, and they had mentioned the timekeeping's not right on this fight, blah, blah, blah. And then it was, again, Brad Wharton, who he's been in the UK MMA scene for a long time. He's very respected in the scene. Good, brilliant commentator for Cage Wars and stuff. It was him that actually posted saying that the first round had been 3 minutes long. The second round was 2:30, and they don't know about the last one, but it wasn't 5. And I've actually seen the fight back, and you can tell watching it. I don't know how Adam never picked up on it in the corner, because Chris had that guy in trouble, and if he'd maybe had that extra 2 minutes, and round 1 he may have got the guy out of there and stuff like that. But it's just a shit show, man. The whole thing, the commentary team are getting positions wrong. They're talking about Chris's defence being all over the place and stuff like that. Chris was barely getting touched. Chris is in the guy's guard and the wall. Chris is in full mount, and you know what I mean? Just stuff like people weren't getting that wrong in 2005. Like, you shouldn't be getting it wrong at that in 2022. Sorry, on you go.
No, I was going to say the thing with that is now, right? You've got guys who have never fought that would probably be able to call a fight better than that. That at least know the basic positions in a ground game. What guard, behind guard, half guard, mount. I mean, I've never fought that, but I even know the difference of that. So I mean, that's horrendous.
These brothers actually run a gym, like they teach as well. Like and definitely one of them's fought. I don't know if 2 of them's fought. One of them actually fought in one of my shows, maybe 2006 or something. He fought in Lanark. And he got beat convincingly there. I think it was a different one. Fought Alex Emlyn, but Cage Warriors last minute notice. Complained about stoppage. Something off with the guys, to be honest. But you could tell, like, I think Craig Mock had been at the previous UFL 7 or something, and he came up and he was like, it was an absolute shambles. Like, there was mismatches. There was just gaps between fights. There was no hand wrapping. There was everybody using their own clubs. So there was guys turning up for amateur fights and getting pro fights on the night and stuff. And by all accounts, it was the exact same last night. It was weird seeing Chris Duncan on it. Do you know what I mean? Like he came through Bellator.
Contender, Bellator.
And now he's on this show, and I actually felt sorry for him, man. Do you know what I mean? I was like, this is meant to be. But these commentators will go for UFC to UFL, and I'm like, fucking Mongos. But it looks like it's getting a bit of attention now. Not so much for the stuff that went on during Chris's fight, but the fight after it. And it looks like it. I'd imagine most of the big teams are going to boycott that show, I'd imagine.
You'd think so, because we talk about timekeeping and stuff like that, and although it's just dumb shit to happen, but there is the aspect to it where, like, we know there's mismatches in the sport. It happens a lot with late dropouts and stuff like that, but when you put a mismatch on and then you include really bad refereeing, dangerous refereeing almost, that's when it becomes extremely problematic, and that shows like that can really cause issues for the sport in the country, because Scotland's right, we're deprived it shows we don't have anything. So this is where you can get problematic when you've got mismatched fights and then really bad refereeing, and that's got to be a concern.
The fight you're talking about was the main event, and it was a kid. I think it was at featherweight. It was that kid Somers. He's for Brad Pickett's team. He's got quite a big record. That kid. I think he was 11-2, and then went to Cage Warriors, and Aiden beat him. I think he won a fight and then lost again at Cage Warriors. He might have dropped to bantamweight and lost a good fight to Liam Gittins actually. And then I think Cage Warriors must have cut him. So he's got a big record, like maybe 13-3 or something, 13-4. And then it looks like it's been a mismatch. He's ran over some boy last night. And then the incident that's kind of causing a bit of trouble today on the internet, or last night anyway, was the finish. He's hit the guy with a couple of knees against the fence and dropped him, and basically hit him. Now, the commentary team, who, for as bad as the guys were all night, and again during fights these guys were talking about what they'd just ordered at McDonald's and stuff like that. The commentary team are shouting stop the fight. You can hear in the video people in the fucking crowd shouting stop the fight. And this guy Doolan, he's come out there, and for some reason he's kneeling down. He's watching this guy getting punched in the face, and then eventually Somers, to his credit, actually looks at him and says, "They're telling you to stop the fight." To the ref, hits the guy a couple more shots, and then he eventually stops it. But see, if I was coaching that other guy, I'd have been over that fence, and the ref would have been getting it. That's like, you're in a position of power and trust there is in that job. You know what I mean? There's a reason that guys like Mark Goddard are the best in the world at it, because he understands fully the implications of that job. It's no turning up and getting 150 quid to referee some fights. You're potentially fucking putting somebody's health at risk if you fuck up. And again, this guy Golan, he's got previous for it. A previous show, I think he was almost fighting with a coach in between rounds, and stuff like that. So the stoppage was hard to watch. When it's one of the things I hear, like, if the young people get to see this, our sport gets fucking set back massively.
And that is the main thing. It's obviously set back, just for the guy in the position that he relies. If you're the fighter losing and can't defend yourself, you're relying on referee to step in and make sure you're safe. And when that doesn't happen, that's a problem, especially when you're fighting a guy who's a really good fighter. But the only hope now is that enough gets said online that big gyms avoid them. I don't know who was there for Brad Pickett's gym, but like you say, that this has got previous, and hopefully people just avoid the shows now. It looks like with that show, it looks like a gym will put a fighter on once and then never go back type of thing. Even if your guy's winning, it looks like you go and you realise that this isn't right. Like the way they treat you, to the setups in the changing rooms, there's no regulation. The gaps between the fights, the standard of the officials, but no serious team's going to want to go there. I had a post on Facebook about it today, and Richard Shore, so one of the best coaches in the country, has posted on it, just saying that teams will continue to put fighters on that show to pad their records. And he's right. Like, you'll get guys actively putting fighters on that show for wins because they know they're going to be getting these absolute cabbages. And it's an absolute shame, man. But none of the serious teams are going to put, you'd imagine, will be putting fighters on that show. And then eventually they'll run out of guys that want to work them. You'd imagine, especially if there was controversy after the last show with people speaking about it, and maybe if they spoke it a bit louder than what happened last night with Chris and with this other kid, with the late stoppage wouldn't have happened. But it looks like this time more and more people are going to speak out about it. I think that kind of popular Instagram page, that Lonely Cannons, they've come out and spoke about it today, do you know what I mean? But they actually spoke about UFL a couple of weeks ago, how that show provides them with content because of the mismatches and all these absolute jobbers. And they've got a bunch of foreign guys turning up there that
they're just not ready to fight. You could see it last night with some of the guys that are out of shape and they're just turning up there for a couple £100. It's no good, man.
I seen as well that the day it must be one of the Galanis who does interviews on the page for the fighters.
Unreal. It's like they want to be everything. Do you know what I mean? They can't just be the promoter. They've got to be the referee, the commentator, the interviewer, and it's a very, very weird setup. It's a weird setup, man.
It's just it's one of the ones that what's that old saying is it's I've lost it, mastery none, I think the end it is. But anyway, so off of the UFL shit show that was, we'll quickly jump on to talk about the boxing, and then we'll wrap up on that. So obviously, Chris Eubank Jr., Liam Williams last night. I actually very rarely do I sit and watch boxing, but I did last night. And to be honest with you, it was weird because Eubank looked like he could have went in there and finished the fight at the start, and you could see Williams starting to come into the fight as it went on. And I mean, it was a good fight. It was a good fight, but it looked like it might be done early. The way things were going in the fight. What was your view on it?
I think I actually picked Eubank to win on points before it. I think me and Aidan Stevens and Ewan Sloan and a couple other guys had picked it, and then when you watch it and you see Williams getting dropped in round 1 and 2, I was like, fucking hell, Eubank looks incredible here. I think I don't know if he took some of the later rounds off, they just got tired, but he looked sensational for a bit. To be honest, I think style-wise, Liam Williams suits Eubank. He's always going to come forward. He's got a tendency to get emotionally involved, which he did, and he overreached and he got punished for it. But then when he started boxing a wee bit smarter, he was actually taking rounds off Eubank Jr. Eubank Jr. looked good, man. He looked massive. He looked much bigger than Williams, which is a factor. He does look like he's trying to be Roy Jones Jr., which is very, very, very weird. Because for the people that will remember, Roy Jones Jr. is possibly one of the most athletic boxers in the history of the sport. He got away with so many things just by sheer athleticism. He's so fast and stuff, and it looks like in spells Eubank Jr. was trying to copy him, some of the posture and the hands down and stuff. The commentary picked up on it and stuff, but he got away with it last night. Yeah. But he forgets that Roy Jones Jr. had hundreds of amateur fights and all that to develop that style as well. But I don't see him getting away with that against. I think he's been calling it Golovkin and stuff, so I think he struggles with that. I'd like to see him maybe rematch Billy Joe Saunders now. They fought early in their career, and maybe see that again. But it was an enjoyable fight, man. It's good when you get those big kind of domestic fights like the England versus Wales thing. I quite like Liam Williams. Kieran Smith, who trains at the gym occasionally, boxer, had been doing sparred with Liam Williams a couple of times for his last couple of fights and speaks very highly of him. Says he's like just a nice guy. So I also, to an extent, like Chris Eubank, but as well, I was a big fan of his dad. I was gutted he never came out to Simply the Best last night, but it was a good fight, man. It was a good fight.
Yeah, it was good. I enjoyed the fight. Liam seemed to walk onto quite a few things. I think the first knockdown he walked onto a jab, wasn't it?
He let his feet get away from him. He was too eager. It's one of those things.
Like you say, a bit emotional. You can see Eubank as well got with that. He was really trying to land that left hook as well a few times.
I think that occasion, like the Welsh crowd and stuff's incredible. They always get behind their fighters really well, but I think all that probably didn't do Liam Williams any favours. It looked like he was losing it a wee bit just because of the occasion, but he done well, man, to hang in there. I think he got knocked down 4 times, and just whenever he was getting a wee bit of momentum back, he'd get knocked down again. It flipped everything. I think he done well after, like he knocked down 1 and 2, and then just started seeing it 3 and 4. He was getting a wee bit of momentum in 5, get knocked down in 6, get knocked down again in 11 or something like that. So it was a hard for him, man, just with the 10-8 rounds, but
It's probably a fight as well. Williams would look back at it and think, I've just done a couple of things different. That's a fight. That's a winnable fight for me.
If it wasn't for the knockdowns, he might have won, because the rounds were pretty close, and obviously they have to gear that 10-point must system. He was having to get 10 rounds with the knockdowns. So, he wasn't far off the pace, man. But, it was a good fight.
No, it was definitely a good fight. We'll wrap up on that. So obviously we'll be back in the next episode. Hopefully get some guests on. Obviously, Dylan's got a big fight coming up. Dylan's got a fight coming up with Chris Shaw as well. So we'll see. A lot of stuff going on at the gym now. Then
busy, dude. Stevie's away. Stevie's got to London tomorrow to meet the CEO of PFL. He's in London. I'll probably announce it tomorrow. Actually, they've just signed a deal with Channel 4, I think. So Stevie's going down there tomorrow to meet. He's actually done for his visa on Tuesday, but he's going down tomorrow to meet the guy for PFL. Me and Chris are away to one on 2 weeks yesterday, I think, as we go to Singapore for that. Obviously, Dylan's matched. Keir Hardy's matched the EFC 3 weeks. Bunch of amateur guys. Sean Clancy's at 2 weeks. For the English kids up, Callum Mullen's been back up for another 2 weeks. Chris Morris has been up for a month. Stuff like that. So we've had some good guys up on training and stuff. Been busy.
Good. It's good to hear you've been busy after the last couple of years. It's nice to be busy, right?
Aye, crazy busy.
Well, we'll leave it on that, and obviously we'll be back again soon, and hopefully we'll have some of the guys on to chat.